Thank you for staying with us, Alero.
Yes, thank you for staying with us. Residents of Taqwa Bay area of Lagos State were on Tuesday, 21st of January, thrown into confusion when they were sacked from their homes. Taqwa Bay is a seaside cove which has played host to thousands of Lagos residents looking for a slice of relaxation away from the hustle and bustle of the city. The residents have been accommodating and its beaches have been relatively peaceful. But now the residents have been evicted. Now, what has led to all this and what has transpired is what we're going to find out from the paramount ruler of Taqwa Bay, Chief Olatunji Maxwell. Good morning.
Good morning.
And we also have with us a co-director, Justice and Empowerment Initiative, Megan Chapman. Good morning. We also invited the spokesperson of the Naval Operation Owashe, Mr. Thomas Otuji, but he's not feeling too strong this morning, and we're hoping to reach him via telephone. So, Chief,
Madam,
what did you all do to government or to the Navy?
As a matter of fact, what we felt was it's an intimidation. And they actually uses that power of uniform on us.
Why would they come and just intimidate you
Yes,
for nothing?
because I don't think there's anything wrong between us. One, we are talking about the pipelines. And as a matter of fact, we are very, very, very far away from the pipelines.
Okay.
And like all we had was people must not be around the pipeline within 100 meters. And if we are talking of the pipeline to Taqwa Bay, it's very well over thousands of meters away. So that was why we were surprised. On that Tuesday morning, just as it was said, around 8 in the morning, we woke up, children were going to school. The next thing, we started hearing gunshots all over the community. People start panicking. They now start shouting, pack your things and leave, pack your things and leave.
No, Chief, just hold on. You were not given any notice.
There
had been no dialogue. They had not given you any warning.
Nothing. That was
any notice
no
to
notice,
move out?
No warning, even verbally or, on black and white. There's no single notice. The whole notice was that early morning as they came, the notice was, pack your things and go, pack your things. Then I met with one of the officers that it's not easy for you to just come, just like that, and say people should leave. Normally, like Taqwa Bay, I said, like me sitting here, I was born in Taqwa Bay. That was 21st of September 1952. I was born there, so after which I went to places of living for job, for whatever. At the end of the day, I came back there. Again, my coming back actually to Taqwa Bay was because of one late Bale, Oladipo Mitogun, which asked me to come back and start working with him. Now, when I came back, I now happened to start working with one company, B&B, but I still at the same time, I'm working with the Bale as third person to him in rank. So when he died, other person came in. That man told that before my own tenure, which I came in. So everything was fine with us. Like Taqwa Bay as a whole, it's a very peaceful place. And when they were talking of bunker and bunkers and all this, also, for instance, I think about 3 days ago, some naval officers and what they call civil defense officers who are in charge of that pipeline security were caught in a bunkering act. Yes, so they've been transferred to, some are now, as we are talking, some are now at, what do they call, Marine Police, they are Tonico. So that was the question I was asking them, that how could these people, empty, they don't have cutlasses, they don't have knives, they don't carry gun, to go to a place where we have more than 30, 40 people with arms guiding. How would those people get in there and vandalize pipes?
But the question I'd like to ask, just before we get to Megan, is, are you saying that those hand-dug wells around the homes in Taqwa Bay never existed?
In Taqwa Bay?
Those wells, as in where they scoop.
We have wells in Taqwa Bay.
Not hand-dug?
But, no. The wells we have in Taqwa Bay, there's nothing like whether fire or no fire. The community as a whole, we use wells, but it's water that we use in the community. Now,
are you absolutely sure?
You're sure that none of those wells is for scooping oil?
In Taqwa Bay, never in life. Never.
Okay, all right.
The only way you had it that was placed on papers were that of Elisha. Okay. Elisha, the Demango, and the rest of where they were close to the pipeline. That was where you find that. Sincerely speaking, if you get to Taqwa Bay, as I'm telling you, you cannot see one.
Okay. Megan, you are of the Justice and Empowerment Initiatives. What is your involvement in this?
So my organization...
Okay.
Oh,
let me just...
No problem.
Just hold your thoughts a bit. We'll just go on a very quick break.
No problem.
We'll be back shortly. Please stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. Megan, you were about to answer the question Alera asked you about the situation at Taqwa Bay.
Sure. So our organization, Justice and Empowerment Initiatives, works closely with over 144 urban poor communities around Lagos that are organized together into a movement called the Nigerian Slum and Informal Settlement Federation. So we've actually been working with people from Taqwa Bay and the neighboring Okunayo communities since at least 2014, 2015. We have many of their residents who are volunteers with our organization, who are involved in different activities that we do in the community, health education, free legal services, different activities in the community. So we have a long-standing relationship, and I want to support the chief on the issue of notice, because actually we've been working with them long enough that we would have certainly heard if they had received any notice prior, because they know that what we do, among other things, is free legal services, and they would have come to us asking for assistance. In fact, all of us had been following and documenting the bigger operation that had started on the 24th of December, where they were doing demolitions along the pipeline, starting from Ilashe's side, as Chief mentioned. We're concerned about the well-being of those communities as well, because what we're seeing is a form of collective punishment, summary demolition of properties without consideration for who actually are the actual targets and whether their due process rights are being respected. Aside that issue, we had been talking to people in Okunayo and Taqwa Bay communities saying, don't you want to take steps in case this thing should reach? And they were very certain that this would not affect them, because they said that is on the pipeline. The pipeline isn't close to our community. There's a portion that is here, but the vast majority of the community, it's a huge community. If you walk from one side of Taqwa Bay to the other side and then to Okunayo, we're talking about 15, 20, 25-minute walk from one side to the other, while the pipeline is over at this side here. So they felt this thing wasn't going to be concerning them, affecting them, and they didn't want to take steps for that reason prior to the actual morning. And I was with some residents from Taqwa Bay on Lagos Island for a program we had there on the morning of the 21st of January, when they got calls from the community that the Navy had come, exactly as Chief had described. They were shooting guns, telling everyone, and they quickly left where we were going and rushed back. And I had to move with all the people that were with us down to CMS Jetty. And when I got there, it was a scene of chaos. You had people coming off of boats with all their loads, everything that they could pack. There were hundreds of families there. I met a woman, a young woman, who had a baby at her back, and she was crying because she couldn't find her 5-year-old daughter that she'd sent to school that morning, and she was forced to pack off without even finding her daughter. We now had to charter a boat and take her back to the community to look for the daughter. Thank God we found the daughter who her husband had been able to rescue. But this was a scene of total chaos. And the beaches all around Taqwa Bay, the jetty at Taqwa Bay were even worse than what you saw at CMS. You had just families with whatever belongings they could find packed all along the beachfront, all along, trying to find any boat they could find to leave the island, and the Navy officers were everywhere.
Were you able to engage with the Navy officers what the problem was? What was the reason for this sudden wake up in the morning and come and demolish?
Well, I think all of us have been following what's been said in the news, the public justifications that are being given around pipeline security. And I did that day meet with one of the commanding officers who were on ground, and he explained the same thing about economic sabotage and the rest of it. But I told him, look, I've been working with this community for so many years. There may be people who are involved in activities someplace along the pipeline, but what about all the innocent residents who are living here? You cannot punish an entire community. You cannot punish women, children, the elderly for the crimes that a few people may be involved in, and we don't have any evidence. During all this operation, how many people have been arrested? How many people have been prosecuted? What the law provides is that if people are committing crimes, and we're not in a wartime era, we're in a civilian democratic dispensation. So what we're looking at is that what the law requires is if people are committing crimes, those people should be arrested, they should be prosecuted. If they're convicted for any crime, they can be sentenced to the appropriate sentence, a term of imprisonment, or to pay a fine, whatever the law provides for. You don't come in and summarily demolish properties, evict thousands of residents. The combined population of Taqwa Bay and Okonayo, because we've actually done profiling and structure mapping of the community, is over 4,500 people.
Megan, the question I'd like to ask is,
Yes.
you know the phrase, see something, say something.
Of course.
So is it possible that the residents of Taqwa Bay were seeing some things that we're not saying?
Is it
And that might have prompted the action from the authorities?
I have two answers for you. The first is it not also possible that the thousands of security operatives who are in that area, the Navy who are there, the police who are there, the Marine police who are there, the civil defense, did they not also see something and not do anything about it? Are we not all complicit in whatever may or may not be happening on the ground?
Yeah, go ahead.
And then the second thing is the law has to provide the see something, say something. It's a principle of collective security. In fact, most communities that we work with are involved in forms of collective security. Because of some of the failings of the security forces. They are oftentimes the ones who organize vigilante to patrol, to keep themselves safe. And that's what we see in many, many of the communities where we work. So from what I know, it's normally the residents of a community who are at the forefront of security and the well-being of the people. But on this point, if the law provides any, so for example, under the domestic violence law of Lagos State, there's a requirement that if you're aware that you have any evidence that there may be suspected, domestic violence or sexual violence against a child, certain people are mandated to report. Certain people, and they're prescribed in the law, teachers, clergy, different people who have responsibilities, social responsibilities, are required to report those activities so that they can be investigated and prosecuted. I'm not aware of any law that has that puts the same positive obligation on residents with regard to other criminal activities like what we're talking about. So it may be a concern, but it doesn't justify what's being done, and the law doesn't allow for what's being done. What's being done is illegal and unconstitutional.
Okay. Now, Chief, we understand that Lagos court on the 30th told the military to halt all the evictions and, whatever it was that they were doing.
Yes.
What's the position now?
Actually, they stopped for 2 days. After 2 days, they started again. That was 3 days ago.
30th.
Yeah.
Yesterday was 31st. Today, so that was, this happened on Thursday. Today is Saturday.
Today is Saturday. Yes. Like yesterday, but sincerely speaking, what people made to feel as if they stopped working was the excavator they were using got spoiled. It hung for 2 days. So with that 40 excavator, that was where people thought they've stopped working. Then I think yesterday, they also walk to a certain stage. It's like the excavator is appointed again.
They demolished some more property yesterday.
Yes, yes.
Even though there was a court order asking them to stop.
Yeah, they did.
Megan?
It's true. So my organization is representing Taqwa Bay, Okonayo communities and another dozen or more communities on the neighboring islands that were afraid that if they can do this to Taqwa Bay, it may come to us, even though we have no information. So we filed that case a few days after the eviction started, and we were in court on the 30th, at the Federal High Court actually, in Ikoyi, and the Federal High Court judge who's presiding on the matter ordered interim injunctions against the Navy, the Minister of Defense, and the Attorney General of the Federation, restraining them from carrying out further evictions and further demolitions of those communities and all the island communities. And then they also restrained them from harassing residents who are remaining in the community, because that's something that's been happening. People who maybe they've been chased out of their home has been demolished, but they have nowhere else to go, so they remain in the community because they literally have nowhere else to go, or else they'd be sleeping outside at CMS Jetty or under the bridge or what have you. So some of them are still there, and they've been facing harassment, violence, intimidation by the military. And so for that reason, that was also restrained. But we did have reports yesterday that despite that, the operation was continuing. So we need to make sure that they're served with Form 48, which would notify them of the consequences of disobedience of a court order, which would be contempt of court, of course. So we're taking every step to make sure that they're served with those forms.
Just to remind us that we did invite the Navy, the spokesperson of the Naval Operation Owashe, Thomas Otuji, who's not feeling too well. This one, we're still trying to get in touch with him via telephone to tell us what the situation is right now. Naleo.
Yes, so where do we expect this to end? People have been evicted from their homes. People are homeless right now. Men, women, children, babies are sleeping under the sky, so to speak. Where is this all going, Megan? You as the legal advisor.
Well, unfortunately, what we've seen in the past is that even if we can succeed in the courts, even if we can get judgment on, requiring resettlement of people or compensation, it's not always respected. We've had that issue in the past with a community called Otodobame, where the case went to the Lagos State High Court, and the Lagos State government that was responsible for that eviction back in 2016 and 2017 ignored the court orders restraining eviction, went ahead to evict the community, over 30,000 people, and then also ignored the order to resettle the people, which was the final judgment of that court. And up till now, we're still on that issue. The people actually took a peaceful protest on Tuesday of this last week to the state government, because they're concerned that the state government, despite everything that's been going on, hasn't come out to support the people. And quite to the contrary, the state government came out and said that they support the evictions. They support the steps that are being taken, and that they have an interest in developing Taqwa Bay into a tourist luxury resort as fine as Echo Atlantic. And so what we are trying to make happen is, one, people are lawful. They're citizens of the country, and they have the right to go to the courts. They have the right to ask the courts to protect their interests, and that's what they're doing. They don't take matters into their own hands. What we're seeing the military and the government doing is taking matters into their own hands, taking the law into their own hands. But citizens are following the legal processes that are there. We're prayerful that the courts will give the appropriate awards, that would allow for people to be resettled back to the community. And we're also engaging as much as possible with elected leaders in the House of Assembly, the National Assembly, in the state government, and imploring them to also come to the aid of the people. And if they want to do any development in a place like Taqwa Bay or Ogunayo communities, let them do it together with the residents.
Okay. All right. Okay, so let's, we're still trying to reach the spokesperson, Thomas Otuji, but while we're waiting to do that, let's hear from the naval commander who spoke on Sunrise Daily in the course of the week.
I'm very, very satisfied with the way the team is carrying out the clearance operation, codenamed Operation Kurumbe, which is a Yoruba word meaning live there. It's been painstakingly slow, deliberate so, in order to minimize collateral damage. And I want to assure you that since the operation started on the 5th of December 2019, we've not recorded any casualty as opposed to what has been peddled in the social media, and no legitimate legal structure on any part of the clearance operations has been demolished. What you have are mostly shanties, and maybe 10 to 20 people live, but we took a census of the shanties. There are about 350 of them, and some brick houses that are in very deplorable and dilapidated states, which the pipeline vandals, the criminals, sea robbers, have converted into a safe haven. And let me quickly point out that this operation, Kurumbe, was born out of the fact that the country was losing a lot of petroleum products along the pipelines due to the activities of vandals. And most of these products, at least 99%, end up through the waterways into our neighboring countries. That is clearly economic sabotage. The evidence before us, when you have in your homes 300, 500, thousands of jerry cans of varying sizes, you have hoses and tools for vandalizing the pipelines, and also you have hand-dug wells at your backyard, then they are complicit.
So the chief, the naval commander talked about some of the things they saw on ground. And I do know, I have an idea that a lot of people go to Taqwa Bay for relaxation. Yeah. There are some sites there that people go to see. I understand there's a World War II bunker there.
Well, like that report he was making.
No, I'm coming. There's a World War II bunker in Taqwa Bay, right?
No.
Okay. But then there are other things that people come to. The beaches are beautiful for relaxation and all. But the naval commander talked about dilapidated infrastructure, buildings that are falling apart and are used by miscreants to hide some of these gallons they use in bunkering and all of that. So is that true?
It is not true the way he has put in it. One, like all those wells they are showing is that of Akaraba, and that is where they first started. Even like we here in Taqwa Bay, we too never knew something like that was happening there. It was on that fateful the way this thing happens, when we now get to know that somebody, not even some, people around there, they had hoses, they had pump, some even run pipe from the pipeline directly into their compound with taps. That is not in Taqwa Bay, that is Karaba, Idimango,
But our reporter was reporting from Taqwa Bay.
But like this is very, very untrue. Very, very untrue. Nothing like that in Taqwa Bay. I can even surrender my life to defend that. Nothing like that is happening in Taqwa Bay. Nothing.
What about those pictures that you just saw?
Like the other way, I'm surprised to see they say there's a well in Taqwa Bay for it. It's a very big lie.
When they showed the house that had all those thousands of jerry cans.
Like those jerry cans they are talking about, Taqwa Bay has different communities. We have the Okwayo. We have the Central Taqwa Bay, which is my jurisdiction. Then the other one is the Ajegunle site. So if anything keg of this nature has been found, except in Ajegunle. And actually that was where they might say they found the kegs. And even the naval men also has their own kegs. As like some of those kegs they brought out to say those are kegs they found from here, they have from there.
So this area here you're saying here, this is not Taqwa Bay? I was hoping that the producer, if we can see those kegs again, I want to be sure, Chief, you can just identify, is this Taqwa Bay or is this not Taqwa Bay?
Okay.
Yeah, is this Taqwa Bay?
No.
On the NPA property without permission.
Yes.
Chief, the question is, there are two sides. You've talked about three sections of that Taqwa Bay Island. What do you call it? Okwayo. Yeah. There's a central Taqwa Bay, and then there's the Ajegunle side. So the kegs that we saw there and the And the building that was about being destroyed after we saw the cakes.
Yeah.
Where is that? Is that Taqwa Bay or is that Okwayo or is that Ajegunle?
That is Ajegunle. Ajegunle is where they found those cakes.
Okay.
It's in Ajegunle.
Okay.
So like Okwayo, no cake was found there. In Taqwa Bay itself, no cake was found. And what happened was, I think it was that day we went to court. So as I was coming back, I met them carrying those cakes from that Ajegunle to Taqwa Bay playing ground, which is the field we have in Taqwa Bay. And that field there is just around my building where I stay, yeah.
Okay.
So they now dropped all those cakes on the field.
Okay,
there.
Megan, what's the way forward as we close?
Well, as we've said, the court has already restrained the Navy from carrying out further evictions and demolitions and from harassing residents. So we expect that that order should be respected and that there should be, things should be halted where we are right now. In the meantime, the case is coming up again on the 13th of February, and the court has said that they will look at the prayer that residents who've been forcibly evicted should be receiving emergency relief materials, should be receiving emergency shelter, and should have assistance from the respondents, those who've carried out the evictions, to rebuild their homes, and so on. And I just want to make the position of the law very, very clear, because we had a judgment already since 2017.
We've run completely out of time. I'm sorry.
Okay, let me just read this tweet as we wind down. Just Boy says, I did a training with the Man O' War Sea School, Lagos. We had an endurance trek during the training to Taqwa Bay. I saw oil theft on our way there. The people paid to secure the pipelines are the ones stealing oil. There's no oil theft in Taqwa Bay. That's coming from justboy.com.
Okay. Co-Director, Justice and Empowerment Initiatives, Megan Chapman, representing the displaced community. And then we had Chief Olatunji Maxwell, who's the paramount ruler of Taqwa Bay. All we can do now is just wish you all the best. And we're sorry that you've lost your homes and some of you are now homeless and sleeping under the sky. And we hope that the Justice and Empowerment Initiatives will be able to get you your houses back. And you can go back to your homes. So Sunrise will be right back with another interesting conversation. Do stay with us.